I can just do that in the editing side. Just take out the mandolin and the voice. The whole thing, really. Alright, let's start the show.
What's up, suckers? Welcome to Hop Heroes, brother. The show where we talk about our favorite drinks and our favorite heroes, fool. I'm your host, Jordin, and with me as always, we have talented artist and comic enthusiast, J.R. Gonzalez. What's up, JR?
Like your jive talking. Nice jive talking.
I'm angry right now. I don't know why, but I'm talking like I'm angry.
That's your angry talk?
No, that's my blade talk, dude. That's my blade right there. And then we got our third host, Zach Barlow. How you living?
What's up, fool? Jive turkey.
Bro, you look like Hancock right now.
That's true, you do.
Hancock?
With that beanie. And
who's Hancock?
And for those listeners, we're all repping the shades right now. You don't know who Hancock is? We'll do an episode on him. Don't worry. But you look like
currently
hardcore Hancock right now.
Is he badass?
Yeah.
Does he get all the ladies?
Yeah. He's Will Smith, dude. It's Big Will. Come on now.
That Hancock?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, bro. I'm Hancock as hell. Hell yeah, bro.
Hancock as hell. Motherfucker.
Hancock as hell.
And then we got our guy in the chair who I'd imagine is having a fabulous day. Vinny McBroom. What's going on, man?
Founders.
Hey.
Yeah, today's a good Sunday.
And why is that?
For sure. Well, because we lifted the cup today. 2019 MLS Cup champions. Yeah.
That's big, dude.
That's
huge.
Second time we won MLS Cup. It's another trophy for the trophy case. There's plenty of trophies actually in soccer in every league, so we got a full trophy case. That's why they hate us.
That's why I'm curious. Like, what is the so this is the MLS Cup?
Yeah, so this is pretty much like the Super Bowl comparison, if you will. But then there's other trophies like the Supporter Shield goes to the team with the best record. And typically in most other leagues around the world, that's pretty much like the only trophy is like goes to the one person with the best record, top team. But in America, we have playoffs, and that's our tradition here. So,
that's kind of tight.
As we should.
Yeah, so and it's funny because it's starting to attract a lot of international players because they're like, what are playoffs? That sounds stupid. And then they start watching it and understanding it, and they're like, oh, I like it. We don't have to necessarily be the best
Cinderella
team
story, bro.
to win.
Like,
it's the underdog
Create
story.
some drama,
Yeah,
100%.
but I mean, so that's, you put a star above your crest for each trophy. So this is for the 2016 one. So I'll be getting
so for the jerseys next year, there's going to be 2 stars?
Mm-hmm.
That's sick.
So I'm going to have to get me another jersey. So I'm excited.
Hell yeah, bro. Storied franchise.
Yeah, it's a great day. But
this is
I'm
your day.
So tired, so I'm drinking an energy drink.
Yeah, I can't imagine recording an episode after like the Super Bowl if the Hawks were in it or something. I would be a corpse.
It'd be such a. It'd just be a bad idea, I think.
Yeah, the game was
at noon, idea.
So I started with a Bloody Mary when you're supposed to in the morning.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Speaking of which, today we're talking Blade and the fitting pairing. We're drinking Bloody Marys. Personally, not a fan myself. I think I've tried a Bloody Mary once in my life.
JR, are you drinking Bloody Mary too?
And JR's got the bloody on his side.
Wow.
Yeah.
With my little
Special
bitty
occasion day.
little bitty garnish.
The cutest garnish.
What is that garnish, bro?
It's so cute. Look at. Don't you just want to give it a kiss? You just want to give it a nice little smooch. Look at that
so
little
bad,
baby.
dude. Check out my garnish game, dude.
What is that though?
Is
that a little jalapeno?
No, it's celery.
It's a celery.
It's a little celery rib.
Wow,
rib.
that's like so sad.
That's not sad.
95% of the Bloody Mary game is how hard your garnish game goes. So I went a little ham on my garnishes. So
oh my god,
what the fuck? Is that bacon?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
and you got the salted cup. Oh man, I'm kind of jealous.
I got the salted rim here. I got the lime wedge. I got three crispy strips of bacon in there, and then I got a Polynesian sausage, just about 1.5 foot longer, to top it off. This way, my garnish game goes hard.
I'm not gonna lie. The way that sausage is hanging out of that cup, though, man.
Oh, it's phallic.
Looks real phallic.
It's phallic as shit.
Well, I also feel like that's gonna give you the shits later.
That's not the visual we need.
Yeah,
Sorry, what?
That's not good either. I feel like that's not the best thing for your stomach. I feel like you're gonna get the squirts out of your butthole because of that.
Jordan's not worried about his stomach right now.
What do you mean, JR? Does not compute.
Oh, it's a-
Or it's like, what do you mean?
So let's dive in. Actually, dude, Zantac had a recall today. Apparently, some of the antacids have some impurities in it, so like it's unhealthy for people. So Zantac's like recalling all their shit. On the subject of stomachs. But let's dive into Bloody Marys.
Stock there.
So, Bloody Marys, there's been a lot of controversy over where it originated, who created the name, who created the drink. But the most common story I found was comedian George Jessel, who was a frequenter of 21 Club in New York back in the 1920s, 1930s. He would always order vodka and tomato juice.
That was a good time.
And so they
Good years for that club.
thought that, okay, so Jessel created the Bloody Mary, but it was just vodka and tomato juice. And then Fernand Petiot perfected it, he claims, in 1934 by adding salt, pepper, cayenne, Worcestershire, and then ice and lemon juice. So depending on who you give credit to, there was just tomato juice and vodka, or there was the Bloody Mary, the modern Bloody Mary we have today. And the name was associated with Queen Mary, the First of England, because she was nicknamed Bloody Mary in the Fox's Book of Martyrs for attempting to reestablish the Catholic Church in England. So it was around that same era. So that's
and
the
I
history.
imagine that was like there were bloody battles that ensued with those attempts.
Yeah, it wasn't like, hey, you guys want to do this? Let's have a group discussion. There was
all I
scissors.
envision
Yeah.
is like the bloody stumps from like Mighty Python, or
Oh yeah, just a flesh wound.
I was hoping that this was gonna have something to do with that horror game that kids used to play, like in a bathroom with the door closed, where they'd be like Bloody Mary. Like if you say it 3 or 4 times,
I
then
think
like the ghost shows up. Did you guys ever
Yeah,
play that?
I fucking didn't play it. I refused to play it. Vinny's been scarred for life apparently because of it. But yeah, I think it has to do with the Catholic Church.
Wait, so is that horror game in reference to that woman that made all those bloody
Queen
battles?
Mary?
Yeah, is that like the girl that would show up?
That's just a shot in the dark, but I mean, for the sake
Kinda
of the
makes sense, though.
For the sake of the episode, absolutely it is. Yep, you're
right.
right. Absolutely. All right, so this is my least favorite part of drinking Bloody Marys.
Wait, can we do this though can we do the taste individually and then you tell me how you made it?
Yeah.
Because I feel like we may have all made it differently.
Yeah, sure.
all right.
Because you said that, it used to just be tomato juice and vodka. That's all that's in this cup.
That's your Bloody Marys?
I
Tomato
thought
juice
that's
and
what
vodka?
Bloody Marys were.
Okay.
Like, do you have more shit in your cup?
Well,
Like, that's my question.
I bought a pre-made mix, so yeah, I have Bloody Mary mix.
Oh, you got a Bloody Mary mix?
Mm-hmm. Mr.
Okay,
Mr.
so this
T.
is a tomato juice and vodka taste.
So this is the Jessel edition.
I'm weird. I kind of like it.
You are weird.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I mean, it tastes like it tastes like tomato juice, but with a bite, and the ice makes it super cold. And I don't know. I've always liked Bloody Mary, so even though this is like a broken down version of it, like there's not other things in it, I can still rock with it. I think I just like tomato juice.
Yeah, I don't like tomato juice. That's the difference between me and you, I guess. Not a big fan, but I'll get it over with. Let's throw it back. That's actually really good. That's not bad at all.
See?
Yeah.
See?
That tastes like remember Chef Boyardee, the little fucking ravioli cans? That tastes like the sauce in the ravioli can. And there's
But a little bit thinner and way colder.
And there's 2 shots of vodka in there, and you don't even know. So I can get behind that. That's actually surprisingly delicious. All right, I'm excited. JR, throw it back with that don't get the garnish in the way.
Chug
though.
it.
That tastes like horse shit. Nah, that's
it
nasty.
is.
I'm sorry. What the hell would you drink that for, other than to like regurgitate it? I throw it. I just
Dude, you hated it that much.
God damn.
For some reason, I thought you were gonna turn that around. Like I was like, he's thinking about it. It was, but then.
well,
it was
I wanted to
forward.
give it a chance, and then it just got worse as it went down. So, no. But I made it. I mean, I didn't put any ice in it, so it's just like
Oh,
God.
that's not ideal, bro.
Yeah. Gotta
You can't
have
have
Okay, so
lukewarm.
it's like
Bloody
really
Marys.
thick. It's like really thick with like one
Yeah,
shot
man,
of vodka.
you gotta have ice in it.
Can't drink blood
I'm
warm,
like-
dude.
Dude, I like my blood warm.
Ooh.
All vampires like their blood.
Okay, you leech.
Yeah. Not a vampire, you're a leech.
Well, that's
I'm
like
a
the
vampire.
derogatory term for vampires that Blade uses.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
The
Okay.
leeches,
I
the
see
damn
you.
leeches.
I
Yep.
see you. All right. Well, that's our beverage breakdown. So, 2 fans. Vinny, you're not drinking one, are you?
No, I had one this morning only because
And he's hammered.
my dad claims he makes the best Bloody Mary. So I was like, I don't like Bloody Marys, and he's like, you got to try mine, and like you get like Jordan, Zach, you know my dad, so
Yeah.
he convinced
So was
me,
it good?
I guess.
Was it
to
good?
have his Bloody Mary. It was all right. I don't like tomatoes. I don't like tomato juice. I'm not a big.
You don't like tomatoes at all?
Like I like red sauce and it's all right, but I'm like I prefer not to have tomatoes on my sandwiches and stuff. I'm just not a tomato guy. So Bloody Mary is not my thing. But I'm also
I
not.
hear you.
I'm also not into vodka, and it's like Bloody Mary's.
It's kind of the 2 components.
Yeah, it's the 2 things that I don't like. So yeah.
That makes sense. All right.
Here's to some
well-
more caffeine.
Yeah, slam back that energy drink. I'm a converted believer. I'm not going to say it's my favorite drink, but I can actually drink this, and I get a little snack on the way, so nothing wrong with that.
Hell
All right.
yeah, man.
All right, so that's our beverage breakdown. Let's hop into story time with JR. Let's talk Blade, JR. What do you got for us?
So Blade was a very interesting research project because what we typically try to do is find like a story arc and then kind of go through there and evaluate it. And then for me, I get to like leg off and do other research for it. But there wasn't really like a constant story. I knew this would be one of the biggest problems. We kind of talked about it in Slack, where what story arc we should read. But we chose one that kind of, I guess, gave an intro to Blade and his first introductory issue, right? So Blade was created by Marv Wolfman, who's done a lot of other, like the Infinity Crisis and done some big time comics. And
What a
then,
great name to
artist-
create a vampire hunter, but your last name's Wolfman. That's
Wolfman.
perfect.
Yeah, it's a perfect. Yeah, that's actually is a very good. I mean, the Wolfman is one of the parts. Why he was like a slave to Dracula, but kind of turned on him, like owner versus pet kind of deal. But
Yeah.
and then the artist was Gene Collins. But the storyline follows. It's obviously the Tomb of Dracula is where Blade originated, number 10, and the story kind of follows. In this issue, follows Blade starting off saving a couple from 3 vampires, and that kind of turns into a revenge thing for Dracula and trying to lure out Blade throughout the storyline. And Blade was back in what is this, 1973, so you're talking, the reason Jordan's talking jive is because that's how Blade talks. I mean, he's a black male man with afro and some yellow sunglasses and a green leather jacket that only
Dude. Were those goggles? Like, they looked like goggles to me. Were they sunglasses?
They
or
were like
goggles?
big goggles, but they called them, it was, I don't know, maybe it was like this. There's a purpose probably somewhere along the line, but I don't know why.
Yeah, look cool as fucking shit.
That shit was whack,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, but I bet you at the
And-
time, bro. Come on,
He had,
man.
like,
You
a
gotta-
green
you gotta-
jacket
you gotta
and
put
yellowish-
it in
Dude, the
70s.
big green
Yellow
collared
pants.
jacket, that's famous back
Yeah.
then,
And yeah, he talks like
and-
a off-key Shaft, like in his dialogue.
That's so true.
It's so. I got a lot of
And-
thoughts about this.
And the Blade that everybody's used to is from the 1998 movie with Wesley Snipes, where he's wearing all black, silver everywhere. This Blade is colorful with wood stakes and a belt, that's kind of over his, strapped around him. And it's kind of a very, very different Blade. It's a very different start to where he's at now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a little bit of, there's a lot of history through Blade that I'll reveal throughout the episode. But Blade's real name is Eric Brooks, right? His origin story is a very important origin story because it's how he's developed, right? His mother was.
It
was
serves
bitten
as
by-
his main motivation, I feel like, throughout
Absolutely.
the rest of his
Yep.
character.
It's a big time. It's one of the most important origin stories because sometimes you get an origin story and it doesn't really mean anything to who the character is. It's just like, boom, there's an explosion and this guy got some superpowers. Yay. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Like her
Mhm.
powers were kind of like, everybody else's. Kind of like the Fantastic Four, their very special events, that they had to create them.
Spider-Man.
I think Spider-Man, so I think this origin story was much more personal and much more intense. And I always felt vampires were kind of like a rape date kind of situation, like I always felt like they were very sexual.
I felt that way too. Reading this,
right?
I was like, this feels like almost like a commentary on like sexual assault.
Yeah,
dude,
big time. I felt like it would not go over well in this day and age with certain readers, because you're like, there's like, first of all, it's like man power all over it, right? Like man has the ultimate power over women in a lot of this stuff, and then and definitely like the way Dracula talks to the women. Oh, you're beautiful. I want you one of mine. Like you're one of my type of people. And that was
who
needs
roofies when you have mind control, like you don't need to fucking
that's
spike
mind
somebody's
control
drink, and
for
he's
sure.
like, you want to
Yeah,
come
that's
to
pretty
my
weird.
room.
I also feel like Dracula would like act all cool and like and get the girls like to trust him, and then once they like got alone, he would like spring on them, and it just felt very like it's kind of rapey.
Yeah.
It's getting kind of
It's
rapey.
very rapey. It's very rapey.
I don't think they ever
which leads
bang
us-
though, right? He just eats them. Like, does he?
No, that's the thing. Like that, and I feel like listeners should know too that there is
Dracula's not a
ever-
rapist. Like he's just
Well,
a murderer.
Yeah, the reason why we're commenting on this is not because it's actually like a scene of sexual assault. It's that it's so close to it without it actually being that it feels like there's it's some type of parallel. Like, so what would happen is the vampires would attack these women, and then they would the main goal for the vampires to just suck the blood from the women, not actually have sex with them.
Yeah.
But the women were always dressed very
it's a good
like,
point.
very little clothing, and it was always like a physical thing in a bedroom of some sort, and it just felt really like kind of cringy. Like, oh, this is getting.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, they're always, like you're saying, slippy. Like you could almost see everything, and they're like especially curved in the right spots. And Dracula is like overpowering them with even this is a Blade story, but that's kind of the cool part about Blade. Like he did not treat his women like that. He was completely the opposite, and like talking to he was very much like engaged in who the women are. In his one woman, Saffron, that was his chick in the book.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like, I mean, that kind of leads into his origin story. I mean, vampires seem to take advantage of everybody, but it just happens that in that timeline they were writing about,
hit him with the origin story.
All right, let's go with the origin story. Origin story is where Blade's
Sammy.
origin story.
Sammy's
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Muy bien. She can't hear us, so we're just laughing at ourselves. But anyways, Blade's mother was born with, was actually given birth to Blade, and there was an incident where she was having an issue with him. And Blade even says, Mama was having a problem with me even before I was
pain.
born.
She was experiencing
She was
pain.
having a lot of pain. So Blade's mother worked in a brothel. And I can't. That word's hard for me to say. And so during that, they called the doctor, and the doctor came in as like a normal person, and was like, "Oh, I can help her," and then took advantage of her in the situation, and that was Deacon Frost. So that kind of spurred that Deacon Frost versus Blade, and he bit her while she was giving birth, and obviously with a umbilical cord, those enzymes that he had was passed on to Blade. So he wasn't like a full vampire. He just had some powers, but not all the powers.
He killed the mom though. He like drained the mom completely.
Killed her. Yeah, killed her. Not like in the movie.
Take Blade out of her corpse essentially.
Right. And they scared off Deacon Frost so he couldn't kill Blade, and raised him as their own in the brothel. Yeah.
Brothel?
Yeah.
Brothel.
And so now what we have is we have a baby who's essentially half vampire, half human. Who
Sort of, yeah.
Kind of. I mean, has vampire like blood in him.
They call him a Dompier. It's like half human, half vampire, but he was born, a little bit different. But like he has some of the powers, but they call him a Dompier. instead of a half.
And he hates
vampire.
vampires.
Or they call him
with a fucking
Daywalker.
passion.
Daywalker.
No, I got a very, very special thing. They don't call him Daywalker till later. That term comes up after a different event in his life. Which do you want me to reveal that now, or should we?
Is it when he learned to walk, or
No, dude, reveal it. We're there.
yeah?
All right, let's go there. So obviously Blade has gone from story to story to story. Like, he hasn't had a very good title successful run, right? So he's gone from Tomb of Dracula to being a part of the Avengers to being like a team up with Ghost Rider. He's actually teamed up with Spider-Man, and he teamed up with Spider-Man to fight Morbius. And Morbius is a very different vampire than the normal vampires. He has it's almost like a virus that gives him like it's like the opposite almost, except for he has bloodthirst, right? And so when him and Spider-Man go and hunt Morbius bites him. And it changes. Morbius bites him. I like saying Morbius, but whatever. Suck it. Suck it. But he changes Blade, and instead of, because Blade, like I said, wasn't like a total vampire. He just had some strengths and some speeds, and he was very agile compared to a normal human. But he didn't have his full power until he was bit by Morbius because of the different enzymes that he gave to Blade. So now he had super speed, super strength. And he also was able to basically walk in the day instead of being like a full vampire. Because when he was first born, one of his abilities was he wasn't able to be bit by vampires and change. But Morbius changed him into kind of a day walker. And that's where that term came from. And
So it made him like a little bit more vampire.
more vampire, even with the bloodthirst, but and his power is heightened even more. So like now he's even stronger. Can jump as high as Hulk, can heal even faster because of what Morbius did. Because Morbius was experiment on himself. He wasn't bitten by a vampire. He experimented himself for different reasons.
So before Morbius, he didn't have bloodthirst. That was after Morbius when he got the bloodthirst.
That was after Morbius. Have you
Wow.
noticed when you're reading Tomb of Dracula, he's kind of like a normal dude. He's just like a guy who hangs out with his wife or his girl and try and goes at night and hunts vampires. But it's not until he actually gets bit by Morbius that he turns into a full-fledged vampire with fangs, with a bloodthirst.
So the
I
1998
did
movie
notice
is
that
post Morbius.
because the Blade that we read in the comics seemed very different from the Blade that I
Yes.
knew from the Wesley Snipes movies.
yeah, 100%.
That guy transitioned way later, 80s and 90s for sure. In the 1990s is when you first start seeing him with the 1990 Spider-Man animated series, where he starts wearing leather jackets and he's on a motorcycle and he's got the faded top going on, and that's
when he gets
started,
swag, when he becomes fucking cool.
Yeah, he gets some swag. He starts listening to jive talk, and he starts getting more because he's very talky. Like he's very verbal in the Tomb of Dracula. He talks a lot, actually.
He describes everything he's doing while he's doing it and who he is. Every single scene.
Yeah.
I'm a vampire
He's like,
hunter, and
"Man."
I'm jumping off this wall right now.
I know. He's like eating a bagel. Look at this bagel. Cream cheese on that. I feel like...
And it's not thought
This
bubbles.
vampire
It's
thinks that he's got the
dialogue.
drop on me. But not this time, because I'm too fast. So I stabbed him in the chest with my knife, but then the knife broke. So I went and picked up another knife. Got him in the neck this time. It's like narrating like step by step.
Yeah,
The
I feel
jive
like-
turkey took it this. The
jive
jive right
turkey.
hook. Then
I
the
feel
left
like-
hook with the jive.
I feel like Mitch
Yeah.
Hedberg like wrote the actual lines for Blade. Like that's why I
Yeah.
felt like he was.
For sure. Like it's just it was hilarious. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
they could have done it as narration, but they did it as word bubbles. Like he's audibly saying these things. And if you're the vampire, it's like you gotta talk the whole time. Like just kill me, dude. Like you gotta tell me how you're killing me.
Yes. Get
It's
to it.
like if Richard Sherman was a superhero.
Yeah, sure.
Keep my name out your mouth. I didn't say
Just
anything,
can't stop
Richard.
talking shit no matter what. Like, just can't.
Yeah, I
Oh,
can't.
that's good. I like that. Okay,
Yeah,
so
so that was a
Morbius
pretty
changed
good-
the game. Then
good
that's
answer.
a huge plot twist. And if you think about it, the movie's coming out? They're doing the Morbius with Jared Leto, and they're doing the Blade with Marshall Ali. Like I hope they cross
Ooh, are
over.
we gonna watch The Change?
I hope so.
Ooh.
That'd be really
That'd be
cool.
pretty dope.
Because
That would be dope.
I didn't know that was such a huge plot point. Like that's a game changer. What if he's like super like goofy looking with all these colored clothes, and then he gets bit by Morbius, and he comes out the closet, and he's got a fucking just shades, leather. His hair changes. He's got tattoos on his neck. all
High
of a
top
sudden.
fade.
Yeah.
Tatted up.
It was Marshall Ali, then it's Wesley Snipes. He just comes out of the closet. And he catches his sunglasses and puts them on slowly. I'm back. I paid my taxes. I'm back.
Wesley Snipes was a great Blade. I don't know.
Dude, should we talk about
Until
the
he
movies right
wasn't.
now?
Until he
Should we
until
talk
he
about the
wasn't.
movies?
Until he wasn't.
Oh, man.
It was a great start.
I fucking love those movies. Rewatching them, they hold up. They
still
fucking hold
entertaining.
up. Like, they're not bad. I mean, they're cheesy. Like, especially the first one's really cheesy, and the third one. But the second one's not that
first-
Well, that's
cheesy.
2 out of the 3.
The first
they're-
one's
they're
not. You
still
thought the first one was
entertaining.
cheesy?
It's a little cheesy, but it's entertaining. Like, it's good. Like, it's not like
What was so cheesy about it? Because I thought it was legit. Dark.
Okay,
I felt
well,
like
it
it changed the
answers-
landscape.
it answers the age-old question: do vampires learn kung fu when they get bitten? Because I feel like every vampire that he fought knew kung fu, and it was just fucking ba 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 ba. Instead of just being like extra strong and predatory, it was like Mortal Kombat music, and they're having a kung fu fight. So I feel like it was like a horror kung fu action movie, which
Everybody,
I love it.
everybody knew kung fu in the late '90s. Come on.
I guess.
Also,
so.
I feel like the original Blade doesn't really get enough credit for like how it set the stage for future Marvel movies. Like, I feel like that was like the really first like Marvel
It was.
superhero
Yeah.
attempt in theaters, and actually
Yeah.
it was super successful. Like, that Blade
It was.
franchise made a fucking ton of money, and so I feel like Marvel came back and sat down and was like, "Wait a minute, guys! Like, we might be onto something here." And now here we are down the road on this podcast called Hop Heroes because we like follow Marvel. Like, Blade was like really the beginning of what we now know as the MCU.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, Hulk was before that, right? I mean,
No.
wasn't that
No.
wasn't in the
Hulk-
80s?
Nope.
Not the Eric Bana Hulk. I'm talking about the Lou Ferrigno. That was before 1990.
Oh, you mean the
okay,
TV
all
shows?
right.
That was in the
Yeah,
'70s.
those are TV shows.
Okay.
I mean,
Plus,
there's some
dude, come
other.
on, that sucked.
That was more about Bruce Banner than the Hulk. I mean, the transformation in that show was ridiculous. It was like frame by frame by frame by frame.
It was literally
Yeah.
a different actor. Like,
Yeah. Turns into Lou Ferrigno. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great point. It did, because I think of like superhero movies were existing, but like, when was the first Tim Burton Batman? What year was that?
That was in the '80s.
So like DC was ahead of the game
1989.
before Marvel.
They did a great job with their
yeah.
movies.
And then I guess Blade was Marvel's first step forward, unless we're forgetting something that I can't think of.
Not
there
that I
was
can
also-
think of.
There
They
was
had
also
some really
Spawn,
Never forget
but
anything.
Batman was
That's right.
1989. That was the
1989.
Tim Burton one.
Yeah.
But then there was also Spawn. I mean, that's a
That
old-
movie was
Spawn
shit.
was pretty
Don't
dope.
even bring that up.
That's a 1997.
Scared me
So
when I
that
was
was
a kid.
before Blade, but well after
That movie
the-
was
well after the
garbage,
Batman.
though. I mean,
What? I
Martin
enjoyed
Sheen
it.
as the
I didn't
like
think it was
the,
that bad.
the best part of that was John Leguizamo and being
The best
this
part's
actual
always John
spe-
Leguizamo. Whatever
Yeah,
movie
I
he's
mean
in.
his the clown fit his speech pattern exactly the way that clown speaks, so it wasn't like he was doing anything different. But I think when it came to Marvel, I think the Blade movie took that to the next step. I mean, because nobody really knew about Blade prior to that. I didn't know even know he was in the Spider-Man animated series. You know, I had no clue that he was there. I didn't realize Blade existed, and probably like most
Yeah,
people,
neither did I.
was until the 1998 movie. And
Right.
obviously I knew Wesley Snipes, but I mean, I didn't even think about it as cheesy. I just thought it was action-packed, dark music. And I knew the director was pretty good, even though he did League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, he did.
But
Butchered that one.
so I knew that wasn't great, but it was just
I also think- Oh, Matt, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, you go ahead. Bob.
Oh, I was just gonna jump in and say I also think that like Blade is a prime example of how like the movies can, like, how much movies can contribute to the canon. Like, I feel like as we like continue to do this, like we're approaching year 3 of doing this, and we've been like pretty deep into like comics now for almost 3 years. And one thing that I kind of thought when I started that's changed now is that I thought when I started the canon was only written, and movies had to kind of like adhere to whatever had been written, and or they were not doing it correctly. Like what was written was like gold as far as the truth of the character. But I feel like movies are developing the canon just as much as anything that's written. And I feel like Blade is a perfect example, because if you tell anybody, like, think of Blade, what's Blade gonna be? Even this movie with how do you say his name? Marshala, I
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Ali.
Even this movie with Marshala Ali, I hope that's how you say it. But it's clearly influenced by Wesley Snipes' Blade. I mean, the character design it's not the exact same, but it's clearly influenced by Wesley Snipes. And I feel like that's just, I mean, the movies contribute to the canon, and in this case, the Blade movies are, I would say, bigger contributors than the original comics were.
Yeah. That's a big, actually, conversation we had not too long in Action City Comics. Shout out to Action City Comics, because it was like, what is the catalyst to make this character even bigger, to actually be able, so now that's popular enough to create more content, because sometimes if it's not very popular, it kind of dies off and they don't really give you any more content. It's like the end of that character, right? And Blade, for the longest time, his comics were so bad, they just quit making content for him. So that's where they just kind of threw him in to these special team ups, you know? And then all of a sudden the Blade thing comes up. Now it's more of a movie character than it is a comic book character. I mean, they tried to revamp it in about 2007, and that comic book wasn't great either. And I mean, he's turned, I mean, Spider-Man was a vampire. I mean, Santa Claus was a vampire. It was just a really weird story.
Santa Claus was a vampire.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They're trying whatever they can to reunite this. And I think it was right after the third Blade movie that they tried to do this. And it just wasn't very good. And it's one of those things where, like, it's got a great origin story, but everything else is like, you're still killing vampires, and it's like, you know, it's kind of old.
Yeah. I feel like the character itself, like, he doesn't have the most dialogue, and he's not presented well. Like, he can't reach his full potential on paper. Like, the best thing about Blade is the action, the swag, the music, the cool, like, you just fucking like, this is sick. And, you know, like, it's hard to capture that in a comic. And, like, I completely agree with you, Zach. Like, it completely, like, rewrote the character for a movie platform, and everybody loved it, and it was a huge success. And I'm glad they did that, because if it was just the comics and we didn't have those movies, like, Blade would be an afterthought, and everybody would think, hey, maybe that's a cool idea, but, like, it's just a Black Van Helsing, you know, or what? Like, it's nothing compared to what it is now. And yeah, Norrington did that.
It's just iced out Constantine at this point.
Yeah, dude. Constantine's way cooler, actually, because his storyline was actually
his
great.
His look is very cyberpunky. Like, that whole late 90s trench coat, sunglasses, like, dark bass music. Like, it's very cyberpunk.
Dude,
it kind of is.
There's a dope...
It's very cyberpunk, man. But it's awesome.
The soundtrack's actually pretty dope, too. And the second one actually had a dope-ass Mos Def song in it that I fucking downloaded on Spotify after I watched it.
Damn, you're going to have to send me that.
Eye Against Eye.
I feel like you could take Blade from those movies, pick them up, and then drop them into any scene in The Matrix, and you just be like, yep. Yeah, got it. Like, I feel like it's like, you wouldn't even skip a beat. Like, you'd just be like, word, okay.
Oh, he has a sword.
One's a vampire? Damn, that's wild. All right, let's see what happens next. Like, I feel like it would just be...
That's so true.
Very similar character design.
That's so true. And then, like, I personally think that Blade 2, I mean, Blade 1 set the stage, but Blade 2 was really fucking good. Like, Del Toro was on it.
Del Toro, yeah.
The action was sick. The idea that, like, he had to team up with his enemy to fight a new enemy, like the Reapers. And, like, they had, what's his name? Your boy, Ron Perlman. He was one of the hunters. Dude, is it Ip Man or IP Man, Vinny? Your boy, the Kung Fu Master?
Ip Man.
Ip Man?
Ip
Man is Snowman, dude. He's in the group of the fighters, of the vampires.
Shoot, what's his name? Oh, now you're going to make me have a brain fart. Sorry. Donnie Yen.
Yeah, dude.
Donnie
he
Yen,
was super sick with the sword. And then they had Ron Perlman.
He's amazing, dude. Some of his older movies when he's younger are just, like, unbelievable, to be honest. Like, but
he's a savage. I watched that for the first time at your house.
Blade 2 is my favorite as well, just because it's Del Toro movie and, like, the whole creation of that crazy vampire and just
yeah,
it gets a little bit more horror focused.
Mm-hmm. And Del Toro is great at creating creatures.
Yeah,
Like-
he really is. And they had Norman Reedus in it, like, and his name's fucking Scud. He's
Scud, yeah.
It's a terrible name, but it fits. Yeah, so I really like 2. I mean, 3 is what it is. It's
Garbage.
yeah, it's
That was
Jessica
very
Biel
good.
and
It was a
fucking
sad
Ryan
ending.
Reynolds. Yeah, that was a stretch. But 1 and 2, man, like, especially when the comics were so bad, very, very impressive and completely saved the character. Really cool stuff. What else we got on? Actually, the one movie that we forgot to talk about was Blade Rises. Still in production, written by Jordin and Brandon Arith back in, I think, 2010.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
The screenplay, it was starring, Cameron Hayes, Kyler Duck.
Bro, you
Corey
had
Fay.
me
It
for a
was-
second. I was like, what? Blade Rising? What's going on?
I know,
We-
me too. I was like, wait,
we
what?
made
There's
a-
another movie?
Me and my brother wrote a Blade mock movie, whatever, and it was basically Dracula. Dracula has an assistant who he's sexually attracted to, and is played by CJ. And he is always like super creepy with him. And CJ finds the location of the amulet, and so Dracula rounds up all the vampires in the universe. So he gets Edward from Twilight, he gets Tom Cruise from Interview with a Vampire, but it's really just Tom Cruise, and he thinks he's a vampire. And he gets the dude from Lost Boys, played by Kiefer Sutherland. I can't remember his name right now. And then he gets Jacob from Twilight. And Zach was supposed to play Jacob, but he bailed, so we had to replace it with one of Brandon's friends. But we have it all recorded, and it will be coming to a YouTube channel near you here shortly once we get that shit uploaded.
I really thought you were gonna say theater near you.
Are you ready to release it? I thought that something happened where you lost all the footage or something.
No, we have all the footage, just we lost our equipment, so we can't upload it. So I need to get a tape deck and upload it and edit it and shit. But we have like 80% of the movie.
Well, now
films.
you have to release it. You just told the
I
world you're
know.
going to release it.
Well, this is the reason I wanted to start this podcast 2 years ago was just to create hype for Blade Rises. So this has all been building up to
I
this
got
point.
roped so far into this long con, bro. It's been like 3 years, and I've just been a fucking helper to plug Blade Rises.
It'll be worth it. I'll give you some royalties. But yeah, I mean, I think let's talk a little bit about the Tomb of Dracula, because honestly, there's a few, like, the dialogue was god awful. The artwork was old, so I'm not gonna hate the artwork, but wearing goggles, he's using daggers, like wooden daggers and a machete, like didn't have a cool sword ever. One thing that was kind of cool is that Deacon Frost, he was a scientist, and in the movie he's like a fucking like meth dealer or whatever. Like he went straight
like
Walter
a drug
White.
dealer. He was like a drug dealer, which is
Yeah,
the later
Walter
storyline
White,
in Blade.
but vampire.
It
Yeah.
was such a twist on his character. Like he's like a majestic and intelligent and shit in the comic, and the fucking in the movie he's just like this. I'm Frost. I'm gonna smoke cigarettes.
He's got bangs. I like his
Yeah,
bangs.
it's
They kind
kinda
of
like
perfectly
emo or
dangle.
whatever, like-
Steven Dorff's like just dangle perfectly in front.
Yeah. So that was a kind of cool twist. My favorite part of the comic was probably realizing that Blade doesn't like people. Like he's like a superhero that doesn't give a shit about humanity. He just wants to make vampires suffer. And like he even goes out and says that. He goes, I don't care about humanity. I never claimed to be a hero. I'm a vampire hunter, and I just want to see vampires suffer. And I was like, dude, that's the
So
coolest
you want to hear
part
some
I've ever
irony
heard.
on that?
Yes.
You want to hear some irony on that?
Yes.
On that?
Yes, I do.
So back to the origin stuff with Blade, which they never really mention his father, but there is a storyline where his father, who is his name is Lucas Cross, who was a humanitarian, and they actually were trying to fight vampires. And so when his mom became pregnant, he actually shipped her to the UK because they were in Transylvania looking for vampires, and he was murdered. But they were actually humanitarians, and she got shipped to, obviously, like I said, UK, and to give birth to their son. And his dad was actually white, so that was kind of
Oh wow.
a different little take I saw on there.
Interesting.
So his dad was a humanitarian, and then he grew up deciding that he doesn't give a shit about people.
He just wants to kill vampires the whole time.
Yeah, but in all actuality, I mean, how many people has he saved?
A ton. But that's
A
not
ton.
his priority,
I mean-
you know?
Yeah, it's not his priority, but he ends up doing like
He ends up
probably
doing his dad's
more-
work,
more
even though he
positive
didn't
work
mean
than
to.
his
He
dad ever
could,
did.
he could say
Yeah.
that, but he could just wait for the vampires to feed and then kill them, you know? Like he does save people. You're right. I think he.
I know, that's what I
there's a
mean.
little bit
Like,
in
it's not
there.
like he like stands and waits and watches people die and then like kills a vampire. Like,
Yeah.
He steps in.
That'd be so
He saves
fucked.
people all the time.
Well, there's kind of
He's
a really cool.
conflicted.
there's kind of in the first movie, I kind of thought about that because in the first movie with Wesley Snipes, he actually allows Deacon Frost's little kind of crony to kind of live, and he winds up biting people and turning them into vampires. So he kind of didn't really do a good job there of saving people from not being vampires. You know what I mean? So I can kind of see where that came into, where he's kind of an asshole like that, but he does save people, just not on purpose.
He saved Scud in the second one. He was like getting eaten alive by vampires, and he saved him. And now he has all these scars on his chest. And then Scud was like his servant until he backstabbed him in the end. That little shit.
Yeah. He also went through great lengths to try to save Saffron in
but
comics,
that's his boo.
His girl.
You know? Like,
Yeah.
Well, he also went to great lengths to try to save his homie's girl.
Oh,
His
yeah.
homie's girl was like being possessed by
She had like reverse
Deacon
vampire.
Frost.
Yeah, that was crazy. And she like, dude, that's the other thing. They swim a lot in Blade in the Tomb of Dracula. He's quite the diver, dude. He was swimming like following boats and like ships.
It's like a subliminal message, like, "Hey guys, black people can swim."
He found everything was on a ship at some point or in a lighthouse. Like he finds ways. And he
It was like a
swims
special cruise, right, with like celebrities and like the high end.
Dracula,
and
like, hijacked.
This guy brought Dracula in to like as an entertainment, and Dracula's like, I'm gonna lure somebody out here to eat them.
Yeah.
God, that scene was so creepy. That was like one of the most cringy scenes because he like finds a woman like in a party.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Ooh, that one," and then he like basically games her up and like convinces her to like take him to her room. Yeah, it's all. Bad.
You know what
Yeah.
else? He's also Dracula also has a type. You ever notice in the book like it's always a blonde lady that he like goes after?
Yeah, he likes the
It's like-
bimbos.
he's a bit of a type. He has a look. I'm telling you, his rapist is Dracula. Okay, I don't
He's
care
Tommy
what you
Lee,
say.
dude. He wants those Pam
I feel
Andersons.
like the way that vampires are portrayed as a whole in the comics, like I feel like in the movies, the vampires are like monstrous and kind of like they get like bestial almost, and like in the comics they're very much not so. I mean, they can get like that too, but the higher vampires are way more like gentlemanly, but like predatorial and just.
Well, that's
I
like
just
a
think
common
it's-
vampire thing, isn't there? There's always like a level of class or like a level of erotica to the vampires. Like they're like.
Well, I think it's evolved from
Bro,
Bram
what level
Stoker's
vampire is
vampire.
Edward? Is he like a
Edward.
super high vampire?
Edward. Like
Yeah, what level?
I never saw Twilight. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, me neither.
I saw Twilight twice in the theater.
Okay, what level vampire is Edward? Is he strong? Does he fuck shit up?
I don't know, man. His skin twinkles though. I turn the movie off every time. when that
Yeah,
happens
it's a
in the
hard
theater.
movie to
Hey,
watch.
in Vinny's defense, because this is what when we talk about Robert Pattinson as Batman, this is what I always bring up, and Vinny makes fun of me. He's like, he's been in other movies. I saw The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe, and it was fucking sick. It's not. What
I meant to watch
expected.
that this weekend, but I never got
It's
to.
kind of a
It's
mind
got
fuck.
Willem Dafoe too. I mean, who?
Willem
what kind of
Dafoe
movie
kills
doesn't-
it. I mean,
He's
yeah,
good at it.
he's
Come
a
on, the
crazy
Green
old
Goblin
sailor.
forever.
You fought.
Yeah, fuck. Did you see it, Vinny?
One last thought on the vampires, because I think it's a kind of an important kind of subject with Blade. Is it's the vampire has evolved. I mean, I've read Bram Stoker's, Dracula, and it went from a love torn vampire to almost like a sexually, and that's probably turned over time as humans, kind of evolved as perverts, throughout, and even in written language.
Evolved as
60s
perverts.
60s and 70s probably did that a lot, but in Bram Stoker's he's love torn, right? So he does all this thing because he's alone a lot of times. Dracula's a lonely villain. He's not really, he's always kind of pushing people away or
eating
just
them.
yeah, I mean, he sleeps in that's such a big thing. I mean, vampires sleep in coffins. I mean, they're not sleeping next to anybody. So I think that
Lost
that kind
Boys,
of,
dude. They had a pack. Like they were.
yeah, that was
were
different. That's a
crew.
different vampire, right? That was I
Yeah.
don't even know what those vampires were about. 80s culture, I guess. I don't
Bikers,
know.
dude. Bikers. Just
Yeah,
living fast, dying
Trump,
hard.
a saxophone kind of music, leading into rock, I guess, kind of stuff. But I don't know. But that's just kind of my 2 cents about and you kind of have to think about that when you read this old Blade stuff, because it really is it's a Dracula comic book. It's not a Blade comic book, but Blade is kind of sprinkled throughout, and there's a lot of good storylines because of Dracula. And I think that it like the way it evolved, it's kind of funny, and to now I think it's a good. I kind of hope they bring Dracula in the new Blade movie too. By the way,
They got
We'll see
to.
how that works out.
I wonder how they're
Dracula
going to do the
and Morbius.
vampires in the new movie.
I don't know. They're gonna have sparkles, like you said.
It's going to be. I hope they sparkle.
I'm going to be pissed if they sparkle.
So that wraps up our story time segment. And this week, instead of going into Beneath the Ink, we're actually going behind the scenes with Zach because he has some fun tidbits from Blade Trinity that he wanted to share with the world. So Zach, what happened behind the scenes in Blade Trinity?
Well, Jordin, let me tell you. So basically, I wanted to go into because I heard that Blade Trinity was a shit show behind the scenes, and so I looked into exactly what made it such a shit show. And one of the actors on the movie, Patton Oswalt, recently did an interview where he opened up about why Blade Trinity was such a shit show. So I'm going to read that interview, or just select quotes. So he quotes, and he's talking about Wesley Snipes. He wouldn't come out of the trailer, and he would smoke weed all day. Then, I remember one day on set, they let everyone pick their own clothes. There was one black actor who was also kind of a club kid, and he wore this shirt with the word garbage on it in big stylish letters. And it was his shirt, and Wesley came down to the set, which he only did for close-ups. Everything else was done by a stand-in.
It's amazing.
And yeah, he just didn't work. I only did one scene with him. But he comes on and goes, "There's only one other black guy in the movie, and you make him wear a shirt that says garbage? You racist motherfucker." And then he tried to strangle the director, David Goyer.
Oh my God, I love it.
You racist motherfucker, and then tries to strangle the director.
That's incredible. Yeah, there was a lot of egos on that set, I imagine, with Wesley, Ryan Reynolds, Beale.
Ryan Reynolds does not have an ego. He's Canadian.
He's Canadian. He's too polite.
He's all ego and wit.
It continues though. It
Oh
continues.
God.
So Oswald recalls that Snipes would stay in character throughout the whole shoot for the film. When Oswald introduced himself, Snipes simply said, "I'm Blade." Furthermore, a lot of the
Method
lines that
acting?
Ryan. He literally would just introduce himself as Blade. A lot of the
He was
lines that
high.
Ryan Reynolds-
I thought he was.
Yeah. A lot of the lines that Ryan Reynolds has were just a result of Wesley not being there for the scene.
That's incredible.
So, yeah,
That's
he just wasn't
That
there.
makes me want to watch it again and just look for that shit.
Yeah.
That's incredible, dude.
Yeah,
Go ahead. No, I was gonna go into Goyer.
Oh, okay. It all came to a head when Wesley Snipes apparently sat down with David Goyer and said, according to Oswald, "I think you need to quit. You're detrimental to this movie." And apparently, Goyer's response was, "Why don't you quit? We've got all your close-ups, and we can shoot the rest with your stand-in." And that freaked Wesley out so much that for the rest of the production, he would only communicate with the director through Post-it notes, and he would sign each Post-it note from Blade.
Dude, he's my hero. That's amazing.
That's so funny.
It's the best thing I've ever heard.
Fucking
Wesley, dude.
So yeah, that's a little bit of information on why Trinity was such a shit show. Because I think Wesley Snipes lost his damn mind, bro.
That dude. Oh my God, that makes me so happy.
man.
Thank you for taking us into that segment.
Uh,
Man, David Goyer actually he wrote Batman Begins, and he is writing the Sandman series that's coming out. So
he's a legit screenwriter. He actually wrote a lot of screenplays for a lot of comic book movies.
Yeah.
I doubt he'll be working with Wesley Snipes.
I hope so somehow.
I don't know.
Post-it notes. That's amazing. All right. Well, let's go into our final segment before we plug. Craft or Trash. So let's do Tomb of Dracula. That was a story arc that we read for Blade. I'll start it off. I did not like it. And it was forewarned from JR. Like, this is a tough read. Like, just get through it. And I almost didn't. Like, it was hard, man. The dialogue was so unrelatable and
was a grind.
not clever. The artwork was bland. He didn't even fucking kill Dracula in that arc. Like, it's just like,
How do you even? How do you kill Dracula when it's the fucking story is about Dracula though? So it's like,
Well, they
you
kept
have
referring
a
to,
vampire
like,
Slayer to try and kill. It's not even gonna work. It's like the worst.
At the
story
end, you
adaptation.
do it. Damn it! Like, have a climax. It had no climax, and it was just like a assortment of stories, and like everyone, like, it's just weirdly like referring back to Dracula's dead, and they think he's dead, but he's not really. But the act of him getting killed never occurs in this story arc. It's just like referring back to it. So all the cool shit you don't see, and you see like a little tussle on a boat with Dracula, and then he tussles with Deacon Frost a little bit, and that was it. The only cool part was the voodoo fucking snake. The voodoo woman turned into this giant snake, which kind of reminded me of like Aladdin when Jafar went ham. And there was one part where Deacon was calling, and she was like, "Oh, well, you can't come into my house if you're not invited." He goes, "But I'm already inside." And like that was like a cool panel. It was like all dark. I was like, dude, that was kind of cool. And the fact that I found out he doesn't like people and he just wants to make vampires suffer. Those are the only three things that I liked. But if we're going just the story arc and not the movies, I give this fucking comic a 2.0 trash can. Fucking awful. Would not recommend reading it. Just watch the movies. It's the best it's going to get.
Would not recommend.
Zach, what do you got?
I mean, as far as the comic goes, I'm pretty in line with you. The one thing about Blade, though, that I think is worth mentioning is that I think the strength of Blade has always been in the potential of the character. Like, I think that, like, Blade has always been interesting. Like, we kind of touched on it with his origin story, how the mom died and then he became half vampire, half human with like this hell-bent fury towards the killer of his mom and the species that killer represents. And that's like just really interesting stuff. And I think that for a long time, Blade has survived on the potential of the character because I don't know, as we kind of discussed, the comics haven't been super great. And this is not an outlier in that. This is not a good comic either. I found it super grindy to get through. But having said that, I think the character is dope, and I think that even still today, like the full potential hasn't been tapped. And I think that Wesley Snipes got close, but I do feel like Blade could be like one of the coolest Marvel characters out there, and so it's just a wealth of potential I see. So I'm gonna give this a trash. I think the comic is not good. But I do think the origin story is dope, and I think the character overall, even in this comic, is dope as shit. And I just feel like somebody needs to come by and do this character justice.
All right, what's your rating? What number?
I'll give it a 3.
All right, JR.
All right. So I mean, I've been in discussions about Blade for many years now, and it's never good. There's not one story arc that's great, that he's like the star of it. So, it is a grind. It's a grind read because it's an older read. It was very interesting to me at parts because I get to see kind of history of writing. You know, you kind of dig into how writers were thinking back then, and but other than that. That's the only thing that intrigued me, and the story wasn't very fun at all. Actually, the action was really boring. He's like chasing bats through downtown England or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the leathery
bat chase scene.
The leathery wings of a bat that comes through the window.
They said leathery wings like 12 times.
I know. And I didn't like it. I felt like they were just it wasn't like a very good like book to read for a general, like, I felt like targeting women a little bit in the book, and I was kind of uncomfortable at times. And but the character is a great character. I agree with all you guys. All what you said is very good points. And Blade has always been one of these it kind of reminds me of Hellboy a little bit. A lot of potential. And there's, except for Blade, it's like the opposite. Like, they've done really good with the comics, but the movies have kind of done like okay.
I feel like the Hellboy comics are fucking awesome.
Yeah. So it's like the opposite. It's like Blade's comics are shit, and the movies have actually helped it. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's that in that line. I mean the Del Toro stuff was really good too, but for Hellboy, but he's one of these off characters that's not mainstream, that's trying to crack into mainstream, and it's one of those things. So I'm gonna give it a 2. Trash. That is a shitty comic book from all angles. I've read some from the 80s. I read some from the 90s. I've read some from the 2000s, and it's not good. The only thing that's only is I love the way Blade looks. I love the potential of Blade, like Zach said. I think he could be super powered. He can almost be a demigod, I think, at some point. But other than the normal things, it's just a shitty comic all the way around.
Yeah.
Shitty.
All right, and Vin didn't read this episode, so the
Lucky duck.
You lucked out. That's our lowest score since we started with the show, so 2.3. It's about as trash
guys.
as you can get before Zach's one-star trash can of Black Panther.
Can we read something cool?
Yeah, let's read something
I
cool.
feel like
next.
these last couple weeks have just been kind of grindy.
Constantine was cool. I like Constantine, but yeah, we'll spice it up for you guys. We're putting together our next 6 months.
Well, this was our
episodes, so.
Halloween run, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
Halloween season is officially over. Let's go straight to
Christmas.
maybe exploration.
Spider-Man Thanksgiving. Let's do that.
Yeah, I like
Spider-Man Thanksgiving. Just everybody's holding hands and saying what they're thankful for. That sounds fun. All right, let's go into plugs. Zach, you got anything you want to plug tonight?
I don't really have anything to plug, just same stuff. rzenf.com, got a lot of cool projects on there. Please tweet at Hop Heroes Podcast on Twitter. Word of mouth is kind of how we get new listeners. So if you've been listening to the show and you like what we're doing, tell a friend, and we would very much appreciate it. And other than that, hope you guys have a dope week. You jive turkeys.
JR, what do you got for us?
I got nothing. Just don't do what we did. Don't replay. Read something different.
Watch the movies.
Don't read.
Just watch the movies. Skip the comics.
Whatever you have
You're
to
not
do
missing
with
too
your
much.
life. Don't put Blade Comics
Yeah.
involved. All
Try
right,
something else.
Vinny, Seattle till you die. West Ham till I die.
I die.
That's all I gotta say. Sounders
Yeah.
MLS Cup, baby.
Go Sounders. That's what's up. And just shout out to all the listeners out there. Please tell your friends. Thank you so much. Follow us at Hop Heroes Pod, Instagram and Twitter. Check us out on YouTube so you can see us wearing our dope ass shades and my dope ass garnishes for my Bloody Mary. And Zach looks like Hancock. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you guys next week.